What's up, Hokie fans? This is Coach Mike Holmes, contributor with the Sons of Saturday, and this is the first installment of the Hokie Hitter for 2024. Each week on the Hokie Hitter, I'm going to dive in to the X's and O's of a particular play or maybe a theme of the game, something that may have helped the Hokies in victory, or in this case this week, something that may have contributed to the Hokies' loss. The Hokies lost to Vanderbilt this past weekend. Came close, got the lead towards the end of the game, but eventually fell in overtime. What we're going to look at today specifically is the triple option and the option attack, the RPO game that Vanderbilt was running in their quarterback Diego Pavia, and why the Hokies may not have been able to make as many plays as we would have hoped for. The triple option is something that you must rep every single day. You must work on it consistently, and your players that you're using for your scout team have to be very committed. And it's very difficult to mirror. You may know what they're going to do, but it's going to be very difficult for a defense to properly see the speed and how things are run, especially for a team that's been doing it for the entirety of their fall camp, in addition to what they've done all off season. The difference with Diego Pavia, different from being difference with him being a transfer quarterback versus other transfer quarterbacks, his offensive coordinator came with him. So it was something that this offense he was familiar with. He knew what to run. He knew how to run it. He knew what to look for and everything. So it really wasn't much of a learning curve, and it's much easier for the running backs and the rest of the team to be able to pick up on exactly what they're doing. So, not making any excuses for the Hokies. I wish we would have made more plays, but let's look a little bit more into this offense and one play in particular that really stood out as to why this was happening. So, we're going to look at the 12-minute, 37-second mark of the third quarter. This is about the time. This is early on in the third quarter, early in the second half, where Virginia Tech is starting to make a comeback, but they've made halftime adjustments, but we're still not 100% being able to read and understand what's going on with this triple option attack. So as you see here, okay, the Vanderbilt Commodores are in 21 personnel. That means they have two running backs, one tight end who's lined up as an H-back here. Okay, we have the quarterback here in the middle, 5 men up front, two receivers split out wide. The Hokies are really in their base defense, and they were playing their base defense for most of the game. You have APR, Josh Fuga, Peebles, Cole Nelson here on the end, Keonta Jenkins, Sam Brumfield, Kelly Lawson, Mansour Delane, and Dorian Strong on the back end, Greg Stroman, Mose Phillips rounding out the secondary. With this particular play, a couple of key things form this play's success. Now, this ended up being about a 8 to 9 yard run gain for Diego Pavia, but let's talk about how this play is actually constructed. So this is a shotgun version or a pistol version of the traditional load option. So when we say load option, that means we're going to have our A back here is going to be the dive back. So the purpose of this dive back is to get this linebacker to step up in the hole so he can no longer aid in pursuit. Okay, if that linebacker is out of position or bails, the A back is going to get the ball, and we saw that a few times happen as well. The B back is actually going to go in orbit motion behind the play. He's actually going to become the pitch man. In this particular case, you're also going to get an extra blocker on the edge, and this is that H back. And the H-back actually does not do a very good job on this play, but it doesn't matter because everything else really, really works well for Vanderbilt. The H-back is going to go across at the snap and kind of loop around, and his job is to try to get a piece of the outside linebacker or the apex defender, and this apex defender's job is going to have B-back responsibility. So, and now we're talking about responsibilities. Let's look at this a little bit from the Hokies' perspective. Okay, if we see an option is coming. Okay, again, we said middle linebacker, two interior line. Their job is to stop that A back dive. They're going to try to do everything they can to squash that A gap. So Fuga here is going to have backside A-gap responsibility. Peebles is going to have B-gap responsibility. Brumfeld is going to have A-gap there. So we know that's covered. That's why Pavia ends up pulling the football. Now, as far as assignments go on stopping the option, Cole Nelson here, 17, is going to have responsibility for the quarterback. The outside linebacker, the apex defender, is going to have responsibility for the B-back or the pitch man on this particular play. What really makes this play work, and it's really outstanding execution on behalf of Vanderbilt, was their blocking scheme up front. They had kind of this particular concept really took the Hokies kind of out of the play. You're going to have one-on-one kick out on APR. He's already lined up outside shade in a 5 technique on this tackle. He's just going to ride him on out of the play. But from here, we're going to have a double team on Fuga. We're going to have a double team on Peebles here, and they are trying to push him in this direction. Okay, so they're trying to push those guys back this way, away from the play. They're trying to put Cole Nelson here on an island. The one mistake that Cole Nelson makes during this play is that instead of stepping up and having eyes on the quarterback, a lot of defensive ends are taught that when the guy next to you leaves you, so if he's in front of a tackle, that tackle leaves, he's supposed to squeeze down, right? We want to try to maintain that edge. We want to squeeze down and not leave any gaps to our inside. Okay, so what Cole Nelson does here is he actually steps up and then squeezes down back towards the tackle. Okay, and when that happens, Pavia is going to be able to get the angle on him, okay, and be able to attack that edge. So when he steps in and he squeezes down, he loses his angle, loses contain on that outside, and that's what allowed Pavia to get out there. So now we have B-back is getting out here. He's in pitch relationship with the quarterback. Jenkins marks his man. He flies up. He's marking his man, so Pavia has no choice but to take that ball and get upfield. Now, once he got around Cole Nelson right here, and then eventually Stroman and Phillips are all get over there and make the play a little bit further downfield. Again, it's something that is a different look that you're not used to seeing, that breaks from tendencies. Okay, and a lot of playing defense is looking for tendencies. We see dive here, middle linebacker is going to step up and fill that gap. Okay, that's a tendency, right? Okay, this tackle leaves his position. Cole Nelson squeezes down. That is a tendency breaker, okay, on the offensive side, because they're expecting him to be to squeeze down, give Pavia the angle and the edge. The only thing that would have corrected this play in any way is that if once Cole Nelson steps up, if he was able to kind of hunker down and maintain outside contain, which means don't allow anything to outside of your outside shoulder, then we would have an opportunity, because that would have forced Pavia then, instead of getting on out to the edge, he'd have to plant and try to cut back in where we have other people coming down here to help. So again, this is not something that is unusual for Vanderbilt, but it is something that we saw a fair amount of during the game. And one thing I mentioned when I was on College Football Monday with Sam and Robert this week is I talked about slanting defensive line. Okay, so there were a couple of opportunities here where we saw this happen, and it really was most effective when Vanderbilt was running a more of a spread look. They would have two tight here, H-back or slot receiver look with one back here. So we're going to call this 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends here. What they are doing in this particular instance is they are waiting for Virginia Tech to kind of tip their hand. Okay, they want to show exactly what they want us to show him what we're doing, and that determines the give on this particular play. All right, so let's just say, all right, looking at this particular defensive alignment, if they had this particular defensive alignment, okay, we have Fuga in the A gap here, so they're probably going to be calling a dive to the right side. Okay, so let's just say that's where the A back is going on the dive. Okay, so at this mesh point right here with Pavia in the A back, they're looking at which direction the defense is going to go. A lot of times, what we were doing is we were slanting and coming up hard. So APR slants hard, Fuga slants here, Peebles is trying to cross face here, and Cole Nelson or Burgos, whoever was in the game, they're slanting hard as well. And once we saw that, and we saw that they were slanting hard, that's when Pavia was able to escape and get to the outside. Again, it was something that we were kind of tipping our hat on. Later in the game, we started running some stunts. So, and with a stunt, what you're doing is you're telling two guys on your defensive line or a defensive lineman and a linebacker, we're playing some type of game. We're running an X stunt. We're running a cross. So this particular one that we ran, we actually had our line flipped over here. We had, let's see, Nelson over here. We had 16 here, 6 and 52. So we went in this particular set, and actually, my fault. We had Fuga here, and there we go, and Peebles right there. So we ran a toe stunt, or some people call it a tex. So, it's a lot of different names for it, but basically means we're saying tackle and end. Okay, so tackle and end, and when we say tackle and end, that means tackle goes first, end comes around second. So now we have Fuga here. He's clogging up his gap. We got Kelly Lawson here clogging up his gap. Cole Nelson has got his gap maintained here. But what we're doing is we're trying to confuse these linemen right here. And so we had Peebles go outside and try to go to the outside of the tackle to try to pull him away. And then we had APR loop around inside to the A gap and play a little game. What that does is that gets the offensive lineman's eyes confused. They're not necessarily looking for the person that they should be blocking. They get a little confused, and it messed up Pavia to the point where we actually were able to kind of shut things down on that particular play. But these defensive line games that we started doing, this was part of our adjustment that we made in the second half, and while we're able to kind of claw back into this game, we started doing some things, started playing some games across the defense, and we ended up playing better. But as with any football game, you can't spot your opponent 17 points and really truly hope to win unless some things go your way, some good bounces, some turnovers, some things like that. So looking at the board here, looking at this game, there's a lot to build on. There's a lot to learn from. All is not lost. The sky is not falling. Virginia Tech is going to have a chance to battle back this week against Marshall, and hopefully we're able to right the ship and make some things happen. So thank you so much for watching. Please hit the subscribe button, hit like on this video, leave a comment, let me know what you like, what you don't like about these videos. Any suggestions that you may have, I'll read them, I'll listen to them. But otherwise, keep your chin up, Hokie fans. We will be all right. We will be better. Let's get after Marshall this week, and let's go get that first win of the season. And as always, follow the Sons of Saturday. Click subscribe on this video, but follow Sons of Saturday on all the social media platforms. Listen to the podcast for some of the best Hokie coverage that there is out there. My name is Mike Holmes, contributor to the Sons of Saturday. As always, go Hokies.